Hello everyone, welcome back to Jack in the Books, welcome back to my second channel. Today I wanted to tell you about these books right here. These are the books that I would like to read this February. Now, January felt like a very long month to me. I feel like I did so much and yet achieved so little. Like, January, I saw people tweeting saying like, how many months does this January have in it? I agree, January felt so long, but at the same time, I don't really have anything to show for it. So these are the books that I would like to read this month, now that it's February, and I thought I would talk you through them, tell you about them, and maybe you'll get some reading inspiration as well. And as always, I will be reviewing all of these books on Goodreads, on the Storygraph, on Threads. I'm now reviewing all my books on Threads, which is kind of fun. And I kind of like the word count limit restraint that I have over there, because it means that I'm reviewing books quite concisely. And they're very good for me to go back to refresh my memory. So I'm reviewing on Threads now, as well as like my Instagram stories, on TikTok. Basically, if there's a way that I can access the internet and I can share book reviews with you, I will be doing that on any platform necessary. Firstly, we have this book here. This is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This is about this town where this skeleton has been found, buried in the town. And it kind of shakes the community, and I think it's all about finding empathy and compassion within that space, you know, within a tightly knit community amidst a crisis. So I think it sounds really, really interesting. The area is called Chicken's Hill. It's a neighborhood inhabited by a lot of Black people and European immigrants, and the central protagonist is a Romanian-born theatre owner who integrated the town's first dance hall. So I think it's basically about a lot of people who often find themselves victims of bigotry and hypocrisy and have been pushed to the margins at times. And this is about all of those people kind of banding together in this one town, in this one place. I'm always really interested in novels that deal with the concept of space and home and a specific place and the kind of politics and the social interactions that happen within those spaces. So yeah, I think that The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store is going to be right up my street. This was actually sent to me by Amazon Books around Christmas time because they sent me a box of some of their biggest selling books of 2023, and this was one of their editors' favourites. Like, the Amazon Books editors read like thousands of books every year between them, and they picked out their 10 favourites, and this was one of them. So this is caught my attention for sure. Every time I would see it in a bookstore, I would be like tempted to pick it up, and then once they sent me a copy, I was like, okay, I have to read that, and so I'm gonna be reading it this February. Now, this next book is called Argylle, and the movie of Argylle comes out this month. In fact, I have this. I went to the world premiere in Leicester Square, and I have to say, I hated it. I thought it was genuinely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like, I'm so sorry to say this. I'm so sorry to say this. So this is how you know I will always be honest as a reviewer and as a critic when I get to attend these amazing things. Like, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I had the most wonderful time. Everyone treated me so well. You know, at Universal, and all of the team was so wonderful. But for me, the movie was just so not up my street at all. I'm really not a spy movie fan. I really don't like action movies anyway, so I was definitely not the target audience for this movie, but I was super excited about the huge cast of people that they have. You know, Dua, Henry Cavill, Ariana DeBose, but they're all in it for like, I mean, I think Dua's in it for maybe 10 minutes, and then Ariana DeBose has like 3 lines. The way they've advertised this movie is really not what the movie is actually like. It's really just these 2 characters for most of the movie, and I didn't think it was that interesting. I was honestly really bored. And for a movie that is like meant to be action, high stakes, like go, I really feel like the feedback of it was boring is not good. Anyways, what I'm interested by is the fact that this book has been released concurrently with the movie. Like, they've been released simultaneously. So this, I think, in the movie, it's about this author called Ellie Conway, and she writes spy novels about Argylle, Detective Argylle. And I think this is the 4th book in that series. So I think that's the case, or maybe this is book 1. I really don't know. The movie is about book 4, but I'm just intrigued. I think this might just be a gimmick. I think this might have just been written by the screenwriter as a bit of a gimmick for the movie, but I'm intrigued. And one thing about me is curiosity kills the cat. Curiosity will always get the better of me, and now I have to read it because I want to know if this is any good, because for me, the movie was kind of mediocre. Like, I was sitting at the world premiere thinking, I am going to be rating this in 2 stars on Letterboxd. And I feel bad about that, but that's how I feel. Everything is a little bit ridiculous. I don't know. There are way better movies out right now to go and see. Anyways, the next book that I want to read this month is called Brutes. This is described like this. In Falls Landing, Florida, a place built for theme parks, swampy lakes, and scorched bougainvillea flowers, something sinister lurks in the deep. A gang of 13-year-old girls obsessively orbits around the local preacher's daughter, Sammy. She is mesmerizing, older, and in love with Eddie, but suddenly Sammy goes missing. Where is she? Watching from a distance, they edge ever closer to discovering a dark secret about their fame-hungry town and the cruel cost of a ticket out. What they uncover will continue to haunt them for the rest of their lives. Through a darkly beautiful and brutally compelling lens, Diz Tate captures the violence, horror, and manic joys of girlhood. Brutes is a novel about the seemingly unbreakable bond in the we of young friendships, and the moment it is broken forever. Come on, that just sounds so great. And you know, one publisher I really, really trust is Faber. I feel like Faber are very intentional with the books that they publish. Each book is consistently really, really strong. And so there's something to me about seeing the Faber logo on a book that says to me, this is going to be of a certain caliber, of a certain quality, and it's a taste that aligns with mine. So I often have really good experiences with Faber books, and so when I see that they published a new one and they've put their support behind it, I'm like, I need to read that too. So that is Brutes by Diz Tate. Next, we have this book. This is Black Butterflies. This was longlisted for the Women's Prize. Sarajevo, spring 1992. Each night, nationalist groups erect barricades, splitting the diverse city into ethnic enclaves. Each morning, the weary residents, whether Muslim, Croat, or Serb, push the makeshift barriers aside. Threat hangs heavy in the air. Zora, an artist and teacher, is focused on the day-to-day, her family, her students, her studio in the old town. But when violence finally spills over, she sees that they must send her husband and elderly mother to safety with her daughter in England. Reluctant to believe that hostilities will last more than a handful of weeks, she stays behind. As the city falls under siege and everything they love is laid to waste, Zora and her friends are forced to rebuild themselves over and over. There's the breathtaking story of disintegration, resilience, and hope. So definitely a very political novel, and one that is rooted in history, but that is what I like to read about. The cover says, everyone should read this novel. Astonishing, authentic, heartbreaking, intensely evocative, deeply moving. I held my breath as I read. I mean, sign me up. I'm intrigued by this cover because you can kind of see like the silhouettes of buildings and also flames. So it's kind of this abstract cover, but the more you look at it, the more you start to pick up the remnants of a city, which I think is also really interesting. So this definitely caught my eye. It's a book I've been meaning to get around to for a while, and I challenged myself to read more books from my collection before I buy new ones, and so this has been in my collection for a little while, and it's about time. It is about damn time that I read this book. So that is Black Butterflies. Now, before I move on to talking about the next couple books, I just wanted to let you know that today's video is very, very, very kindly brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for building a website or an online brand, and you don't need any coding experience, you don't need to be an expert web developer. They have hundreds of incredible templates that you can use as the perfect launchpad, as the perfect starting point for building your brand. And it means that you can have a little play around. Squarespace has a free trial, so you can test things out and see how you feel, have a play around, see what the software allows you to do. And I'll give you a little starting point because you can actually create an email sign-up list so that you can let people know what you're up to. On a similar note, you can make a blog, and that's a good way of showing kind of what's going on behind the scenes, keeping people up to date and making them feel part of the process of developing your business. And then also Squarespace has wonderful analytical tools, so you can see what people are engaging with, what they're enjoying, and therefore what content you should make more of, what is a healthy use of your time, what is a worthy investment of your time. And so if all of that sounds good, you can actually get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain over at squarespace.com/jackinthebooks and use the code JACKINTHEBOOKS. that's me, that's the channel. So thank you so much to Squarespace for working with me on this video. And the next book is this one. This is Charles Bukowski's On Writing. Now I actually did start reading this book last year, but I only got to page, not even very far, 33. I did not get very far at all. It's dense, but it is so valuable, and I was like underlining so many things. Here's a quote that I underlined. He says, "When I write, it is for the love of the word, the colour, like tossing paint on a canvas, and using a lot of ear and having read a bit here and there, I generally come out okay. But technically, I don't know what's happening, nor do I care. Let us be fair, let us be fair, let us be fair." And it's just basically a collection of his various letters over the years to various people, and it just collects all of his insights on the craft of writing and his career as an author. And I do love Bukowski's poetry, so I've read a couple of his novels too and found them questionable at best, but he can really write a killer line. And so this also has some of his kind of like doodles in it as well, and I feel like it's a bit of an insight into his soul. So it's laid out in chronological order, so it goes through the years, and I think that's also interesting to see how his perspective changed and was shaped by his career and by new circumstances, so we can kind of see as his position on certain things changes as well. So anyway, that is Charles Bukowski On Writing. Now, some other writing I'm going to be reading is this poetry collection. This is Bad Diaspora Poems by Momtsata Meri. "A poet like this comes only once in a generation," says Caleb Femi. "A groundbreaking new voice, masterful, the poems gathered here take nothing for granted. They revel in the slippages of belonging and identity and strive for something greater, something closer to a revolutionary kind of love." These descriptions are just great. "Diaspora is witnessing a murder without getting blood on your shirts. The definition of diaspora is the dispersion of people from their original homeland, but what does it mean to write diaspora poetry? This exhilarating debut collection poses this question, spanning the waves of movement to and from Somalia during the 19th and 20th centuries, as well as movement to London. We then arrive at the present day, where these inherited histories and silences have endured across generations." So I think this is going to be really, really fascinating. And then the final book that I would love to get around to reading this February is Against the Loveless World. This is by Susan Abulawa, who is described as someone who possesses the heart of a warrior. This was the winner of the Palestine Book Award, and it's about a woman who is sitting in an Israeli prison, and it says many in the world outside called her a terrorist, just as many call her a revolutionary, a hero. But the truth is more complicated. She was named after the river her mother crossed when she fled Israel's invasion of Palestine, and grew up into a girl who carried in her bones the desperation of being a refugee. She was a woman who went to Palestine and found books, friends, politics, and a purpose. Now she sits in a cell and tells her story. So it's basically about her return to a place that her and her mother once fled. It also says on here, at its heart, it's a love story. But this is a love story that cannot escape its geography, and that is enough to absolutely capture me and make this a book I am desperate to read. I think that sounds heartbreaking and crushing, but really, really brilliant. And so that is my little list of books that I would like to read this month. That seems like a pretty healthy pile, you know? We'll see, but I have faith that it's possible. And like I said before, you'll see these reviews on the internet, anywhere you get your book reviews. I will be there. I will be chasing you down, tracking you down, and telling you about these books. So happy February. Thank you so much for watching this video. All the best. Stay in touch. Have a wonderful day. And I'll catch you very, very soon. Bye-bye.